if you're nice, if you're not laughing at me too much, maybe at the end of the presentation, I'll show you my face when I'm turning and I'm looking to the photographer. So I missed it big time, just like a work fatality. So what's happening when fatality happens at work? Oh, there's all kind of reasons. I mean, there's how many per week who are not coming back home the way they were when they left in the morning. Big companies, major safety program, with training, with this and that, and inspection, and meetings, and maintenance, and name it, and besides that, it's happening. So we'll explore that a little bit more. Let's get back to the presentation. Now that you know some of my failures. For 5 seconds. So stats I took from OSHA, those were taken from 2017. An average of 99 people per week dying at work, not coming back the way they were in the morning. Approximately 99 families affected. How many people, how many person in the family? 99 multiplied by 3, 4, 5 grandparents, cousins. Lots of people who are affected every year because we're not able to make sure that we're bringing everybody back home the way they were when they left in the morning. So this is kind of shocking, right? How it's happening? I took all the stats from OSHA. The falls, struck by object, electrocution, caught in between. So that us in rebar, we have that. We have a bit of struck, but caught in between. Just 2 weeks ago, no, a month ago, I had a guy that was lifting a bundle of rebar and he didn't sling it properly. The packet was, the bundle was unbalanced. Came back and hit the guy between the bundle and the machine, and he broke because he had a fracture to his shoulder, and he was lucky that it didn't hit the head because he was done. The fellow was working in our company for 3 weeks, didn't have any training, overhead crane. Either slings, and he was just starting actually, so it was a failure that was waiting to happen. I love it the way I managed that race, that famous picture I've shown you, a failure that was waiting for happening. Other numbers, they're saying it's getting better. 1970, I was not born, but I was born in 72. 38 people per day dying. 2017, 40. Getting better. Who wants to be part of the 40? Well, yourself, or your family, your kids? I was talking to my president a few years ago, and I said, we have to do something regarding our safety program, training, maintenance, because every year we're putting names in a hat and we're drawing names. These people, well, they're not dying. We didn't have any fatality where I work. But there's people with serious injuries that they're never going to work again in their life. Would you want to have that in your family? And he was looking at me, and then was looking at the floor, and then I knew there was no answer coming out of his mouth. Okay. So for me, it's not that good. I'm really disappointed at the number. You know, we're all safety professional. We're good at what we're doing because we're safety professional. And that's happening every day, and there's lots of us out there trying to prevent that from happening. 10 most frequently cite standard. Whenever the ministry inspectors are showing up on site, what's the main cause of them to issue a citation? Okay. For me, they showed up and there was a guard missing on the machine. So guys didn't bother putting back the guard or doing like a pre-inspection, FLRAs that we were calling now on project site. They're just operating. As good crew that they're doing what they're told to do, they just want to do the work. So they perform work. They're exposing themselves. Fall protection, one of them, hazard communication. That's a lot. I was just coming out that I was with you, William, actually, the conference about communication, how important it was, okay? Respiratory protection, and that's probably related to all professional illness, exposure to asbestosis, by example. Lots of fatality related to that. Lots in Canada, actually. Lots of provinces, it's #1 cause of fatality, okay? So, all these examples, well, they're real life, actually, citation. Few of them apply in all workplace. I have no role as a ladder. Who doesn't have a ladder at work? Who doesn't have a ladder in their home? Okay, everybody does. But apparently, it's one of the most cited citation. Okay. Oh, eyes and face protection. I get that in rebar. Rebar is strong. Rebar is heavy. So when you miss, you're missing a few parts. So how many times I had guys losing 2, 3, 4 teeth? One that lost his eye. He's 30 years old. He's got a small 2 years old at home. Maybe if I have time, I'll tell you the story at the end of the presentation. The incident, the accident, the event. A fatality at work is a big deal. How many of you have experienced a fatality at work or working as a consultant in one of your customers? You? So more than half of the room here. Like I said, knock on wood, with my company, I never experienced any fatality. My company before, either, we were working, before AGF, I was working for a scaffolding company. One of my best jobs, actually. I had so much fun climbing everywhere. You know? Back when I was working for the Construction Association, and I was also working as a consultant, I faced the fact that I had to support employers that had fatality at work. At the beginning, I thought it was easy because they were calling me, and the inspector showed up, and the site shut down, and can you please come and talk to the inspector on our behalf, which I did. Here's our safety program, here's our stuff, answering all the questions. And then somebody at the Construction Association thought that was good doing that, and said, you will be the person in charge of fatality for all fatality in the Montreal area. So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I started to be called, and a few times I showed up on site, and it was there. It just happened. Half an hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour. First time in my life I saw a dead body outside television on a project site. And the example of what happened, just going to give you the example of the last one. And I'm not here to make it dramatic, but just to put you in the mood of what's happening when those situations are happening actually. So I got a call, showed up on site. There's a red tape all around the building, and I saw the inspector, and he recognized me, and he says, oh, come over. And he was with the police, actually. And so I went, and I shake hands, and he says, let's do the investigation right now, before they're leaving with the body. So we did the investigation. All the time, we were redoing the scene to understand what happened. What led that guy that was working on the roof to pass over the roof, which it was partially open, and he was wearing a harness, wasn't tied up because he did fell down, and landed on the cement floor with his harness, and he landed on his head. This is how he lost his life. And once we were able to do the scene and the step-by-step what happened, I was looking all around. It was surrounded by employees. They didn't know what to do, and they were just waiting. And then I called the owner of the company, and I asked him to call a company to come and clean the waste, right? And then the ambulance left with the body. So I went to meet with the workers. There was workers everywhere. One of them was trying to get a hold of his daughter 5 hours flying from Montreal. He wants to talk to her right now, right away. There's no time for the meeting to debrief what's happening and what we're going to do for the next hours, what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do next week and next month as a company with you guys. He needs to talk to his daughter right now, right away. I haven't seen my daughter for 2 months. There was all kinds of situations like this. And when I had the people around me, the supervisor started giving me the words. He was panicking, you could tell. Like, why are you talking to everybody? Why are you asking questions? Why this, why that? And I didn't pressurize the person because I saw he was panicking. This 6 foot tall dude, tough guy, totally panicking. So at the end, we did the debriefing with the employees. We gave them an appointment to the office the next day, and we called for support. And we were waiting for them for support. So that's exactly what happened step by step when I showed up. On that last scene, last time I saw a dead body in front of me. And the owner came to me and says, are you calling his wife? Or am I calling the wife? I says, no, you need to deal with the police. They will call his wife. They're going to show up. Don't call, don't do anything. And I forgot to tell you that the inspector came to me and says, can you come to me? We need an identification for the worker. And he doesn't have his wallet. And his pickup truck's locked. So he's probably got the keys in his pocket. So we went and took the keys and found the dead body, actually. And we went in the parking lot and unlocked the pickup truck. You know what? The first thing that caught me in my eyes when I opened this door, there was a baby seat there in the back. You know, those double doors pickup truck. So I knew right there that Daddy was not coming back to work. Done. I knew it before anyone else. So, you know, how can we prevent that from happening? There's multiple ways, and there's still, you saw the numbers from the 2017 numbers. I think there's going to be other fatality at work, but we can lower down that number. 17, the difference is 17. We can do a lot better. Okay, we're half of what we had in the 70s. Okay, but as an employer representative, what should you do when the inspector is showing up? Just a few tips, okay? And we will exchange. I made you laugh when I started, and I hope that you guys are going to see a little bit more of the light on how to prepare, and with relation with Bo's presentation yesterday on everything that we need, and it's just not a safety program, okay? And I got a few other examples as well. So I did the example. So when the accident is happening, the workers ring the bell, they're reporting the accident, somebody needs to call 911, and the emergency comes, and then you are facing the facts, okay? Okay, the impact on co-worker, I told you it was a mess. People trying to call their parents, their kids, and their ex-wife. One of them was trying to call his ex-wife, actually. What's happening on site? Site get closed. Sometimes they're reopening the same day, and I saw other situations where they had locked down partially the site, and they let the other part operate. And it's kind of a strange, you know, sitting there, standing there in the middle like this, okay? And the family, okay? And the fellow workers also. Your process, what you should have in your safety program. We're all professionals, so I'm not going to do a safety program crash course in here. But if you're not able to answer the question from the inspector when he's coming, you're done. If you're just barely good to answer the question, you're done. If you're good to answer the question because you're doing what you're saying that you're going to do in your safety program, you're good. But if you're missing a little part, you will receive a fine. And then you're going to see your name in the newspaper because they advertise that. I see that often. Just last summer, I saw in the newspaper that a school not far from my house paid a fine because a worker didn't tie off and he got caught up by the inspector. And I called the school. And after that, I called the city hall. And I offered free services for safety. And they said, good idea, we're going to call you back. They never did. City hall, the same thing. I said, for free. I'm not going to give any invoice on that. But right now, this $10,000 you're paying, it's this part of it, this little tiny parts, it's coming from my pocket because we all pay taxes that go to school. And now you're paying a fine. That's $10,000 that won't go to the kids. That's why I called to offer. As a company, you probably have the emergency response plan investigation process, the OSHA police, you get maybe a protocol for family and communication, identification, corrective action, training, all that. There could be a few slides of everything you can find in your safety program as a process. But you're going to have to face external customers, authorities, and the media. And I had that conversation. I don't know if you remember, like 7 to 8 years ago, there was a major building collapsed in, was it in India or Haiti? And then they found out that it was an American company, and then the reporter was knocking at the door in the United States of that company, asking question and accountability for what happened. Because the reporter got that up, and it was, maybe that week there wasn't that much news, I don't know, but it was like first pages. I remember going to my president saying, that's not going to be us. I want a good safety program which apply in every country, and one way of doing the good things, okay? But you don't have a procedure in case of fatality. You've got multiple process. The media, that's one of them. Who's talking to the media? How to talk to the media. No names, date, time. Don't try to hide. It's even worse. Face the fact. Here's what happened on that day. We're not giving away any names, but he was working for us for the last 15 years. And that's what happened. No more detail because it's under investigation. I think that's the best, as accountable people, accountable company, that's the best thing you can do. You're going to face the authority, like it or not, anyway. And all you can show them is cooperation. There's a few other stuff. They're going to ask you for your safety program. And, I remember one company I was working for a few years ago. This dude was driving a forklift, and he lost control of his forklift, lost balance. The forklift flipped over, killed a guy, because study shows that when a forklift flipped over, you got 0.6 or 0.8 second to jump over. Because if you ask the question to anyone, what happened if you flipped over? Because more than 50% of the operator, they don't use a seat belt because they don't want to. I'm going to jump off. I heard that so many times. I even, I'm 47 years old, so 27 years ago I did my forklift training, and that's what the trainer told me. I said, oh, it's pretty tight here, and we're on dock working at night. What's happening? I'm falling down. Oh, just jumped over. Okay. 0.8 seconds, study says. So buddy died. The inspector showed up to the company. They asked for a copy of the operator's training, maintenance on the vehicle. Everything was accurate. Then they went to the safety program. They did a little inspection of the company. They checked in the safety program. Then they came back and they said, are you guys doing hazard assessment? They showed up record of all inspection, which Buddy participated into those. And then they asked, do you advertise safety? And they showed up record of safety meetings, just a monthly safety meeting or a weekly safety meeting as you wanted. Then they shake hands and they left. No fine, nothing. That doesn't mean that everything's fine, because then they had to deal internally with the fatality. But in front of the authorities, they were compliant. Like the proposed list, one of his last slide, we took a picture of that. There was a lot of item on it. That's item that you should find in your safety program, and not on the shelf. I mean, if you have a section on safety meetings and you're not doing safety meetings. When I was working for the scaffold company, we had a fatality at one of the Shell sites because we were a lot in refineries. Actually, in every country, we did advise in advance, not in advance of the fatality, but before they found out actually that a fatality occurred on one site, base located in the United States. We told them where, and here's what we're doing about it. And I remember me showing up, knocking at that door, Shell in Montreal, and Shell in Sarnia, Ontario, and advertising, I want to let you know, there was a fatality on one of the Shell sites in the United States. Here what happened, and here what we're doing about it. Accountability. Use your program. Have a program. Okay? Train the people on how to use it. Okay? So we did the communication, and when I'm saying that we told them what we're doing about it, that's corrective actions. Don't tell me that there's nothing that needs to be done when there was a fatality. There's got to be, we will revise our training process, our communication process. In my example with the forklift driver, actually everything was done. But you know what? They have to deal internally with the other employees that are in shock of losing one of their fellow colleagues, actually. So I'll flip to the next one. A few examples, not all of them. Like I said, that would be a few slides. A few examples of what you're going to find in your safety program. You're going to have some standard, some policy, some process. Related to those, you're going to have forms. Your workers in the field, they don't want to read the 25 pages policies and standard. They want to do their inspection when they have to do the inspection. So what I do in my safety program, it's not 100% successful, but I think it's getting there. I have my policies, my process. At the end of the standard, I have the form. And I made a special section at the end of my safety program, which is just the forms that are using the most. And I'm telling them whenever I'm giving a training to a foreman, to a supervisor, to a manager, we're going to talk about the standard, but you know, at the end, when you're going to find yourself alone with the binder, go at the end, get the forms, they're all there. If there's a bit of an explanation that you need on how to function with that, read the standard. Do they read the standard? No, they call me, actually. And I read the standard with them. Okay? I was saying, emergency response plan, that's a big chunk of whenever you need to deal with a fatality, okay? Incident reporting process, because on your part, you still have to do an incident report and an investigation. And the two should be really connected, okay? Speaking with the media, don't ask the question during the intervention. That has to be discussed before. Actually, in our company, we're talking about that right now because we're revamping our communication process. Who's going to talk to who? Who's going to do what? And I just developed this safety protocol for travelers. We're a bunch of people traveling in our company. What's happening if something's happening to them? There was no process at all. I don't know if you heard a few years ago when there was Libya went into problems before their president died, actually. There was workers from SNC level, an engineer firm, specialized in, well, yeah, on your case, you know SNC, right? They're all over the map in Alberta and Ontario as well. Well, there was workers that they thought they would die because there was a strike in the whole country, and they were calling somebody in the head office, asking them, "What can I do? We need to get out of the country. It's dangerous." They didn't have any protocol at that time, so you know, I thought that I would do a protocol for that. And then what's happening if the president, owner, and the VPs and a few general managers are all flying together and something's happening? We're losing the full management. So that has to be planned in your protocol also. But you know what? For the workers in the field, first aid, incident report, investigation, emergency for all situation, communicate it to them. which they have to be trained for those. Just how to handle an extinguisher, that's a minimum, okay? That's the form they're going to work with. Implementation and follow-up, okay? Well, since yesterday we've been talking about that and saying that knowledge is power, right? So if you don't know your procedure, your process, you don't know. So you're lacking of knowledge. Training, communication, actually communication goes first, then you train your people. You need your chain of emails and safety orientation and awareness. I'm talking about the emergency here. They have to know about it. I remember somebody asking me who's in charge in case of a fire, you know, and I have the names on my emergency response plan for that. I have the emergency coordinator. They know their name is on the plan, and my first aider responder. And I wanted to test that last year, so I rented a smoke machine, and I put the smoke machine, one on the second floor and one on the main floor, one in the aisles and the second floor in an office, and I started the machine, and then I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and there was a meeting in the boardroom with most of the management in it. You could see from a hand to another hand. Nobody actually came out to pull the trigger for the emergency. We did. Very funny, very strange. And then they said, what should we do? Call the safety guy. One of them in the room was one of the emergency coordinators. That his name was found on the plan. So, you know, sometimes awareness, communication, remind them.
What did you do?
I pulled the trigger myself for the emergency, and then I counted the time it took to exit the office and the manufacturers and all that. That went well. The thing is, I found out after doing the investigation that we were lacking leadership because nobody did, and then I had to call the people all in the parking lot waiting to be called to come back. And still, some people had doubt that it was real or not real because they saw smoke coming out. I mean, if I see smoke coming out, I'm going to do something about it, right? Leadership. Training is technical training, first aider training, whatever training you can call. If you don't use your leadership, you got nothing. Our safety program. So I remember one time I went to a location, they were looking to get a special, we call that in Canada, core certification. So a special certification in order to be able to bid on one of the jobs. The expression, the binder on the shelf, well, it was on the shelf with the dust on it. So they didn't get their certification at that time. Okay. So just make sure you have a safety process in place. The process will help you prevent accident. To deal with the accident that's happening and cooperate with all levels, and that's a big thing. Just cooperate with the authorities, cooperate with your customers, and to have a good protocol and a good process will position your company as a good company. Still, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to save all fatality. I don't wish you any, because back at the time I was a consultant, I've seen family-found companies with just a few employees that after one fatality, they could never operate at all. I remember calling one company, because it's been nice, I'm probably going to show you the next picture. They got a fine because of a fatality at work, and because I was representing the company, I called the owner and I said, by the way, when they got the fine, he was on vacation. So he came back 2 weeks after with a message from me. He called me back and he said, by the way, you were advised you got a fine. I said, yes. Just so you know, I'm appealing the fine. He said, why? Because why I think we've got ground to fight this. And you know what he told me? He says, does that mean that my supervisor is going to have to go to court again to testify? I said, yes. He said, how much it costs? And he paid. So the impact, fatality, the impact on the people, even his own supervisor didn't want to go in court. So you want to see the next picture? Oh, yes, it's been nice.
Yeah, I kind of see that. Was it the one where you were writhing in pain?
Okay, so that was taken this year. Obviously, well, I did the preparation, the same preparation as I did always, okay? But look at my face. I'm just coming out an obstacle, actually, and I was doing that posture because there's people watching the obstacle to make sure you're doing it the right way, otherwise there's a penalty. And they were teasing me when I passed because I passed a bunch of youngsters, you know, and they were like teasing me, oh, you're getting old, you know, watch me going, buddy. And I came down the obstacle and I was like, hey, look how easy it is, and you know, kids were swagging up the obstacle. It's all about preparation. One last, and you can ask questions.
There you go.
That's about a month ago. My face wasn't that good, but the photographer says, hey, look at me. And I turned back and I did a smile. Again, I did those 10K, 15K, 20K, with that one, 40 obstacles. But you know what? Just like in safety, it takes preparation, it takes focus. Focus when people are doing their job, focus when I'm running. And if I want to kill it the first 5K, I'm not going to have any more energy for the last 5K, which that's exactly what happened with the first picture. Just like in safety, again, make sure you got a good safety program. Make sure you're accountable. Ensure the leadership with the people, all level. The trades doing the job, your supervisor, to lead them up to the president. Remember, when I did the fire drill with the smoke, even the emergency coordinator didn't got off the room to pull out the emergency sound. So, and we have everything, and they have the best safety guy, which is me. Anyone wants to react on that? No? You all gonna start running?